press record, and we are back. And we're doing a weekly challenge once again. This week we spoke with Dave Borzillo, and this was a really fun one. I love that his prior book was Who Killed Agile. And the whole thing was, when I was talking to him about it, he said, well, yeah, everybody kept saying Agile's dead, Agile's dead, Agile's dead. So he came up with he and the other guy that were writing, they're like, well, okay, so if it's dead, who killed it? And it's really interesting because I think we're going to see that AI may have killed Agile a little bit, after he wrote the book, essentially, after everybody said it was dead. So it's a very interesting kind of thing. And it's Agile, I think, as in the Agile the way we do it, not Agile as in the Agile manifesto. I think this is where, once again, as I've preached many times, you go back to the manifesto and it actually still holds a lot of weight. So first off, we'll dive right in. This is one side here, Building Better Developers, the Developerpreneur podcast, even though this is only the YouTube version of it. Yeah, I'm a little slap happy, so just deal with it, people. My name is Rob Broadhead. The guy that you're dealing with, number one is Rob Broadhead, one of the founders of Developerpreneur, also the founder of RB Consulting, where we help you avoid expensive, costly technology mistakes before they happen. We're going to help you guide your technology projects to success instead of over the cliff, as often occurs. Good thing and bad thing. Wow, this is a tough one. Good thing and bad thing. Good thing, I'm back. I'm back home where I'm at right now after a roughly a week of vacation. And that was really good. I needed vacation badly. I was in a place where I needed to get away. I needed to just vacate. And the bad news is that the last few days of said vacation, including planes, trains, and automobiles feeling of travel, was a bit much. So it basically erased and negated the entire vacation. So now I'm sitting at a point where, yeah, it was great for a couple of days to get some vacation, but now I'm still exhausted. I feel like everything that I gained in the vacation was lost, and I have piles of work to catch up. So the moral of the story is never take a vacation again. But I'm going to take a break for a few minutes while Michael introduces himself.
Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Malash. I'm also one of the co-founders of Developer, Building Better Developers. Also the founder of Envision QA, where we create reliable, tailored software that helps you work smarter, scale faster, and stay in control. Good thing and bad thing. Good thing, it's been a very productive week, getting a lot of stuff done, working on a lot of different projects. Things are finally getting unblocked. We're moving forward. Downside, we're kind of in the fighting mode a little bit because of all the blockers we've had for so many weeks. So now that the blockers are gone, we're like the fire hose is still turned on full blast. So we're still just going gangbusters. But that's not to be said for the vacation, though. I know that feeling. That's why I take if I ever take a long vacation, I'll take 10 days and go to Jamaica. But yeah, when you come back, I always make sure I keep a day or two when you come back, because it's you just got to decompress. Travel sucks.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing, is I was like, okay, I'm going to be working half and all that kind of stuff, and then we ended up sucking up all of that time. So it was one of those that it was the powers of the be. Somewhere up there, God said, Rob doesn't need vacations. He needs to just work all the freaking time, because vacations are for humans and he's subhuman, whatever it is. I digress because I'm not a hero. And that's what we talked about this week, is hero as a bad thing, essentially. And this was what way back when I first saw David was posting some of his stuff out on LinkedIn about his chapters of his book. Was essentially, the first one was why, I think it was the first chapter was why heroes are bad or something like that. I can't remember what the actual title was, but it was along the lines of hero is not a good thing. And it's really interesting because it right away, it's one of those things that just synced right away with some of the thoughts I was running into. And it's honestly, it's the same thing we run into with AI, is that if we have something that can do something faster, or correct a mistake, then sometimes we have the habit of not actually fixing the mistake. We treat it instead of fix it. So if we've got a Band-Aid we can slap on it and the pain doesn't hurt, great. Next time it hurts, we'll just slap a Band-Aid on it. And the next thing you know, you've got a big pile of Band-Aids. And that's really what we talked about. It's the idea that having to have a hero, having to have some extraordinary, extra human effort to get something done points to something was not planned properly. Something was not working properly. Something was broken that needed to be fixed. And instead of saying, yay, somebody fixed it, we need to say, boo, let's go find the problem and correct it. And that is really the key of this whole conversation with Dave. And then again, like I said, this screams the whole, we're going to use AI and it's going to fix all our problems, because it's the same thing. It's like AI is going to be the hero. We're going to just use Claude and we're going to let him run agents all night and that's going to fix all our problems. But it doesn't actually fix all your problems. So I'll stop there and let the other hero take over. Thoughts, Michael?
Yes. Yeah. So we were talking about hero, but again, remember the season is, exposing the realities of AI, right? Exposing the cracks. And the discussion of the hero really, I think, is going to be, as our discussion progressed, it really came out that, the hero is a bad thing. And AI is going to really expose those heroes, because if we're scaling so much faster, if we're throwing more and more stuff out there, the hero's not going to be able to keep up. They can't scale at this, I can jump in and fix it, when you have like 200 different things potentially going on. No, they're going to burn out. It's going to crash. And it's underlining the overall problem, which isn't even so much the hero, but the processes that the business has allowed or the environment that the business has allowed for the hero mentality to exist, to grow and foster. Because like you said, that we're not looking at, instead of saying, hey, wait, why did you have to do that? We're not looking at the root of the problem. We're addressing the symptoms. We're not going upstream and addressing the problems. We're always in that firefighting mode. We're always micromanaging the problem, not taking that longer view back and looking upstream and saying, why are we really having this problem? And our discussion with Dave really kind of went through that, right? We talked about the hero culture creates organizational risks, because there is that risk. Because if that person leaves, who knows what he did? Who knows how he's fixing these things? And usually that's the gap that we see that AI is exposing. But I think AI is also going to help fix some of that. But it's just really, at the speed we're going, it's making it more difficult for heroes to be heroes.
Well, I think this is interesting because the heroes they essentially sit in the cracks. The heroes are the ones that I'm trying to think. I guess it was an old cartoon or something like that, where you'd have somebody's going to go over a ravine, and then some hero character gets in there, and then suddenly is holding something up so that the baby goes across safely or something like that. That's exactly what the hero is. The crack is there, and the hero is sitting in the crack to say, let's give it a smooth ride. And AI is exposing that because, like you said, you can only put a hero in so many different places. And so if it's a slow moving, we'll keep that baby analogy in the cartoon. If that baby is slowly moving across town, the hero can jump in the way and can move traffic and do this kind of stuff. But now if you add a second baby or a third baby, and now the babies are moving at light speed, the hero can't keep up. And so now the hero that stood in the crack is not going to be there. And now suddenly the crack appears. Suddenly, we'll say the crack appears, but it doesn't, because it actually was there all along. The hero was one of the things that was hiding it. AI will, among other things, expose heroes. We talk about this in, Just had something not a couple days ago when we were talking about one of our silent failures, is we were talking about the whole idea of shadow systems and people that are in the loop but aren't officially in the loop. The kinds of things where you have a report that goes out and Bob in accounting runs a special, little thing or throws it through a spreadsheet once a month or something like that to correct these errors that show up from time to time. So at the end of the day, Bob, the hero, makes everything work. Everybody sees their reports and everybody's happy. But at the end of the day, that's what Bob was doing. He was being a hero. When you do too many of those, when you speed that up, suddenly it shows that Bob was actually part of the problem, because AI is not going to fix it. Or I guess Bob wasn't part of the problem. Bob is part of a broken process. He is a fixed portion he's a Band-Aid on a broken process. And that's really, I think, where we need to look at it, is it not so much as heroes, and that's how we almost always treat them, as heroes in the company, because they stayed late, they worked on the weekend. They're actually Band-Aids. They are the people that come in and say, okay, I'm going to fix this right now. And we all know, those of us that have ever been a hero, and I think Dave would agree, that we almost always have that situation where we say, okay, I was a hero. Let's not make that happen again. I was the Band-Aid because we needed it to get fixed. And then it happens again because we don't go back and actually fix it. We just say, okay, it was all right. We got through that, and life moves on. And the next thing you know, you're back where you started, and the hero has to step up again. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that is so true. We've talked about that so many times with the whole hero mentality and fixing problems. But what was interesting is that was only like the first part of the conversation, right? Because then the conversation, we got more into the AI, more talking about, okay, how do we fix that problem? And we got into, we're going to have to think, product thinking becomes more valuable, right? So we get away from that micro thinking. We start thinking more upstream. We start thinking more broader about the product. And then we can start breaking that down and hopefully getting away from the hero and getting more to a value-driven backlog. And we can actually start working the backlog. We can actually have better tickets. Like, who is this issue or problem that we're fixing for? What is the value that we're creating? Why does this matter? Instead of just having a backlog of, oh, well, we have this bug fix, we have this bug fix, or we need this, we need that, we need this, with no clarity as to what the hell those tickets are for. Because when you do something, and you've seen this, and a lot of other people watching this have probably seen this, is your backlogs can get huge. You can have something in your backlog from a year or two ago. It doesn't matter anymore. Reality is, unless you're working, if it's in your backlog more than 3, I would say 3 to 6 months. Over 3 months, whatever's in your backlog is stale. It is probably useless, not necessary, and you either need to go back to product and you need to refigure out what it is, why it's there, unless it's a new feature. If it's a new feature, fine. But if it's a bug, chances are the code is changed in 3 months' time, that whatever's in that backlog either is irrelevant anymore, has changed, or the bug has now manifested to something else.
I think this is where we go back to, is like, I think we spend too much time, and especially I think in the Agile world, I've seen this, there's too much time spent on the tools and the pomp and the circumstance, on the tickets. It's like, how many tickets did you work? How many tickets are in the backlog? How many, we drive by these specific things, and we end up worshiping that thing as opposed to, what is it? Why is it there? This goes back to, again, Agile manifesto level stuff. It's, you need to be building regular software that is useful to the user. You want to put something that is useful, not that eliminated 15 tickets, not, and never get into the, okay, we ran through this stuff, and so now we just created 500 new tickets just so we can say next sprint we went through 250 of them. The metrics are killing us. We've talked about this. We went back and talked about this it goes all the way back to the Mythical Man month, but definitely we talked about this when we were really picking on Jira on the one episode and all of the estimations. And I loved Alex's callback to Alex when he talked about, let's worry about time left as opposed to estimating how much time it's going to take. Because his analogy of you ask your buddy that's going to pick you up in a car, where are you at? Or, something along those lines. And they say, well, I started 5 hours ago, or, I'm almost there, or I'm halfway there, or whatever it isn't as much is not as informative as I will be there in 5 minutes. Those are it's like we need to stop focusing on the reporting and putting the data in there, and instead, why? What is it that we are actually trying to accomplish? And this is where I think AI is blowing up a lot of this, because these are cracks that have existed for a long time. These are problems in software development that have been here since the beginning of man, when I was born, basically, it feels like. And it's always been here. And now I think AI is really blowing a lot of this stuff up and showing us, because the crutches that we were using of, we've got to have a 3-week sprint, because that's how long it takes the developers to get the tasks done so that we can have a meaningful deployment. Now, when AI can get that done in like a day, we realize that, that's not actually what we needed, that there's more to it than the developers needed the time to write the code, and then there needed to be a little bit of testing. There's other things involved. There are very key things that we have lost way too often. And sadly enough, this is not the first time we've had these discussions. These things show up every few years when there's another silver bullet, there's another thing that shines some light in some areas that we didn't see, and we realize that, we need to actually fix our organizations, our processes. We need to be organizationally ready to do the thing that we're doing. And that may be at a department level. It may be, may need to have it at an industry level. It depends on what it is that we're building. Closing thoughts?
Yeah, and the last thing I would say is, I love how the conversation kind of ended with Dave. We ended up talking about, we need to build learning organizations, not hero organizations. That was so true. The goal is to create repeatable systems, create automation, build fundamentals, get that communication going, get away from this hero culture, get away from these silos, and basically, AI should improve the communication, not replace it. Now, before I hand it back to you, I'm going to throw out a quick bonus that Dave gave us, a quick shout out. So this is Friday. So today starts his free Kindle weekend. He's giving away his new book, Sanity at Scale, on Kindle. The link is in the podcast. I'll have the link in the show notes and all social media. So make sure you check it out. The only thing he asks is that if you do check it out, you do read it, give him some thoughts, give him some feedback on what you think about the book.
And you know how much we love feedback. We even love feedback for other people. I think this is because he mentioned he's writing another book. He's going to go back and revisit the Agile book and do it in the light of AI. And I think there's a lot of feedback that you out there reading it can give that will help shape that next book. So it's very critical. Please check those links out and spend a little time. It's a fairly quick read, and it's very interesting. I found it very engrossing very quickly, because these are all things that you're going to say, oh yeah, I've been there, been there. Challenge. I'm going to do a 2 for challenge. The first challenge: get the book. Go out there, download the book, start reading it. Even if you read the first couple of chapters, even if you don't get all the way through it, I think it is worth it. The second thing is, when was the last time you were a hero? And have you fixed whatever it is that forced you to be a hero? That's all. If you want to take it any further and you want to actually go work on fixing that, I highly recommend it. But let's start with the simple thing. When was it? And just identify what was broken, because it may be that that's not as much of an issue, but it may be just identifying that will help you actually identify many other places where we need to be fixing that stuff before somebody is forced to be a hero. And now, I'm not going to force you to be a hero at all. I'm not going to force you to hang out any longer than you have to. I want to say I appreciate you, love that you've been hanging out with us. And last thing I'm going to say is go try out Dave's book. It's really good. Go out there and have yourself a great day, a great weekend, and we will talk to you next week.